Thank you all so much for coming. I'm Betsy Foldis-Myman from Connectipod, and Connectipod creates podcast projects with youth to explore the world. And we're so happy to be here with Hope of the Valley, and we want to thank them for the perfect wall for doing this Levi Ponce mural for our project Changing the Narrative, which Councilmember Krikorian is going to dedicate in a moment or two. And what Changing the Narrative is a project that gets youth to challenge cliched narratives of themselves and their communities. And this past year, we worked with the Village Family Services, and we worked with the youth there who call themselves TAY, Transitional Aged Youth. Actually, Gayle, can you come up too? And Alejandro. So, Alejandro is the director of the Village Family Services, and Gayle, you might recognize her as our model, but she's also a case manager now, formerly homeless. And you're going to hear her story in a bit. But we challenge the narrative in 3 different ways. The first thing we do is to challenge the status quo, which basically means, what is the narrative? What is the cliched narrative that is happening now? Where does that narrative come from? What is right? What is wrong? And what is just plain missing from that narrative? So to understand the narrative, I want to bring up Alejandro here, and he's going to talk about what the cliches are for homeless youth. Right?
Good morning. I'm Alejandro Soria. I'm with the Village Family Services. I'm a director. I work with one of the programs I work with is our TAY program, Transitional Aged Youth. We have a drop-in center for homeless youth where youth can come, but homeless youth and at-risk youth can come and shower and get linked to housing services. We have mental health services free of charge. We work with referring to substance use programs, linkages to help me here. we have linkages to education. What the goal is to reduce barriers for homelessness. The goal is to also reduce the stigma for homelessness. Many of our youth, when people think of homelessness, there's especially when you think about homeless transitional age youth, which is ages 14 through 24. Some of the stigmas are people just tell me, well, why don't they just get a job? Why don't they just work? Why don't they just get up in the morning and do the rest like we all did? Which people fail to understand that there is a myriad of reasons that are behind the homelessness. On top of their mental health problems, there could be substance use, there could be co-occurring disorders. There's many, many, many reasons behind it. It's not as simply as just getting up in the morning. Many of us were able to do that. But many of our youth can't. We have runaway youth, we have throwaway youth, our LGBTQ plus youth, our trans youth, especially. We have a lot of our throwaway youth, our youth that are just with higher numbers of suicide and more at risk of being hurt out in the streets. So there's plenty of tons of reasons. Our youth are invisible. Homeless youth are invisible. When we think about homelessness, we think about what homelessness looks like. Our youth don't fit that bill. So it's very easy to stigmatize our youth. It's very easy to just say, just go to work, just go to school. There's tons of other problems behind it. And at the Village, that's what we try to do. We try to work with these barriers. We try to help reduce it and link and provide as much support as possible. And I can go on forever, so make sure you pull something right.
Oh, no, that was perfect. The second thing we try to do to change the narrative is to rediscover and reconnect with past connections and present connections. Like, how do we begin to tell the story from our own experiences rather than what other people tell us we are? And so our perfect example of that is Gayle Alvarez, who is, come on over, Gayle. Gayle is amazing. She helped us do this whole project. So you started as homeless youth.
Yes.
Right? And we told her story and we did this project, but if you could talk a little bit about like the power of rediscovering, like when we worked on the music project and rediscovering your past and bringing that into your present, right? How do you want to tell your story?
I guess I was on 3 episodes for the podcast, So the first episode was basically me sharing my story, how I became homeless, how I got out of that, how I'm now providing services to individuals who were like myself in the past. And then the second podcast was I did a journalist episode on basically talking about why people fall into homelessness and why I think it's important for people to know why people fall into homelessness. And the third one was my brother passed away in 2011 to suicide, and it was always my dream to recreate his song that he posted on YouTube that it was never completed. And with the help of Betsy, her brother, and Kevin, they helped me recreate it. So I was able to do that, and that also was a big part of my healing, not just with the homelessness, but the traumas I went through. So I think what Connect the Pod is doing is very important. Yeah, thank you.
No, but by
Thank you.
sharing Gayle's story, and she was so open, and she really did a lot to change the narrative of homeless youth for myself, but hopefully also for our audience. The third thing, and look, right on cue.
Hello, everybody.
Levi Ponce, everybody. I was talking about the things about changing the narrative and how you change the narrative. And the first thing was to identify the existing narrative, challenging that status quo. The second thing is reconnecting with your past and present connections. And the third thing is reimagining possibility. And that is what Levi does. That's what you do all over town.
Thank you so much for having me. I left my mask in the car.
Hello.
So first of all, thank you all for coming out. And sorry I'm a little late today. It was just a long day at the Super Bowl yesterday. I was working the event. But yeah, the possibilities, the futures, I don't know. This was such a positive experience for me, particular. I'm going to be selfish and talk about me and how this affected me, because I, as a citizen, as a voter, as a taxpayer, have seen so much happen in Los Angeles, and we all experience traffic jams of information coming our way, and we get these traffic jams, and it's hard to arrive and piece together the truth of things sometimes. And I think homelessness, unemployment, mental illness, all of these things experience these traffic jams and make it really hard to really decipher what's happening and how to address it, how to work with it. And I just think, I learned through this experience that by coming to in closer proximity and by joining that community, I was able to see mental illness, unemployment, and homelessness fought and addressed right here at this mural site. It was so educational for me. I hope it was as educational for everybody else involved. When you look at the quilts, it's really happy and cheerful, but these images, they're stories. These are real stories. These are things that really happened. These were stories that were shared amongst us. Everybody learned, everybody gained a greater understanding of not just what was happening on the streets, but what was happening inside of the people. It's not random people out there. It's brothers, sisters, it's our families, and it's our stories out there. And we tried our best to capture them here through this quilt, right? A quilt that comes together with all these little stories to create a larger picture of what's going on. And Gayle was kind enough to serve as our model, because I just like painting people. So I don't know, going forward, I hope that we can see more of these type of projects happening. That they don't have to be murals. It could be music, it could be gardening, it can be anything, right? And with fine community leaders like Krikorian offering those opportunities, I'm excited for the future here in North Hollywood and Council District 2. And again, thank you so much for everything.
So I'm going to turn it over to Ken Kraft here from Hope of the Valley to talk about what this center does, because it's amazing.
Well, first of all, Levi, thank you for telling the story, and I couldn't agree with you more about the narratives, because oftentimes perception is greater than reality, and we've got to tell the story right so that people understand what's really going on in our city. And I will say, and I know Councilman Krikorian is going to speak in just a moment, but as far as I'm concerned, he's truly one of the heroes in this city who has taken on the challenge of our day, and that is homelessness. And we are making incredible progress. I had the privilege of standing next to Councilman Paul Krikorian at the third tiny home opening when he said, "I can now proudly say that we have shelter beds for everybody that is street homeless in my council district." And I thought, are you kidding me? This is a man who took the challenge head on to address the humanitarian crisis of homelessness. And where we stand today is his vision. He knew there had to be a starting point. There had to be a gateway. Where do you begin in this matrix called homelessness to find your way out? You must have a starting point. And that's what this place is right here. Here's where it all starts and it all begins. This is the navigation center. Every day, people will come to this site. Yes, they can get showers, they can use restrooms, there's storage facilities for their belongings, they can get a lunch to go, but most importantly, they meet with a case manager. And that case manager begins to share with them what the possibilities are and what that pathway out of homelessness looks like. And we also have a job center right here, and every day people are getting jobs. And I get to hear the stories of it, and it just so thrills my heart to know that this place is not a landing pad, it's a launching pad to take people to new levels of independence and freedom and breaking free from homelessness. And so the mere fact that this mural is here and that everybody that walks into this site will have an opportunity to see it, to enjoy it, and to really understand the story behind it, it's liberating. And so, lest I continue to talk, I want to really introduce Councilman Paul Krikorian. This is his council district. This has been his vision. And because of his leadership, we continue to make huge strides in reversing the narrative and reversing the trends of homelessness and getting people housed once again. Councilman Krikorian?
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Ken, for that very generous introduction. Good morning, everyone. I want to first say how blessed I feel and how blessed we all should feel here in this part of the San Fernando Valley to have community leaders like this who are making things like this happen. Betsy, thank you for Connectipod and your work, for making all of this happen, for bringing us together, and for giving all of what we're doing here a voice that other people can hear and be connected to, and by uplifting young people and giving them a voice too. And Alejandro, the work that you and Village Family Services do every day, I think you were incredibly humble in your comments, because every single day lives change at Village Family Services because of the work that you do. And Gayle, thank you for sharing your story, not just this morning for us, but forever. I mean, you've literally shared your story now forever with everybody who walks through these doors, and it's just fantastic. And I'm going to speak about this in just a second. But also, Ken Kraft, for those of you who don't know yet about what Hope of the Valley does, every single one of our tiny home villages, as well as this Homeless Services Navigation Center, as well as 2 additional bridge housing facilities we have, are operated by Hope of the Valley. And we build these things, we hand it over to Hope of the Valley to operate, and then we know that Ken and his wife Lori and all of the men and women of Hope of the Valley, many of whom have this lived experience, will connect with people in a way that few other organizations can connect, to give them the opportunity that they need to really change things. That door that people are walking through here, it's not just a door to the showers, it's not just a door to the storage, it's not just a door to the offices, it's a door to a new life. And every single day, people just drop in here. They just come to that door and they say, today is the day that I want some help from someone. Today is the day that I'm going to lift my hand up and hope that somebody takes it. And the person who takes it is Hope of the Valley. And all of the people who work here to help to guide that person to the exact thing that they need to help them at that exact moment. And so I couldn't be more grateful for Hope of the Valley and all the work that they do here. You are standing at the very first homeless services navigation center in the entire city of Los Angeles. We built this exactly for that reason, because the lesson that this mural also tells us And by the way, I need to say this before I talk about that. What a treasure we have in the East San Fernando Valley in having Levi Ponce, one of the great mural artists of our time, living here in the East Valley and contributing so much to all that we've done for public art. You know, not just this mural, but murals that we've done throughout the East Valley. Levi Ponce, more than anyone else, is bringing back murals into the valley as, you know, one of the most important public art forms that we have. This is a place that used to be, you know, one of the capitals of mural art in the world. And we're bringing it back now, and Levi is helping to lead that. And I'm so proud that you and all the artists, Gayle, for your modeling and for your artwork here, that you were able to bring this to the people who come into the Navigation Center. Because what this tells us, that the quilt is exactly the right image. Because people, like Levi was saying, people who are new to the issue, or people who all they know about homelessness is what they see when they drive through the area. They see it in a very narrow perspective. They see it on, in whatever their assumption is about that person. And what they don't realize is that every single person living on the street is like a patch on this quilt. Every single person has their own story, their own needs, their own dreams that they have, their own path into homelessness and their own path out of it. And we have to treat them as individuals. That's what this Navigation Center is about. That's what this, I think, mural tells us and reminds all of us, that we have to meet every person where they are, what they need at that moment. And I want to just say one other thing, particular to the transition-aged youth, because this is the part, this is one part of the overall issue of the unhoused that is too often left out of the discussion. And the truth is, County of Los Angeles operates one of the largest foster care systems in the country, if not the largest. And as soon as someone transitions out of foster care, as a society, our basic reaction is, good luck, see ya. And there's no opportunity for that person who's maybe spent 10 years going from home to home to home in foster care to have an opportunity to figure out what they do next. So many of our youth come to Los Angeles because they're leaving something that was traumatic in their home, and they come here. Or they've had some trauma here in Los Angeles, and they have to leave their home because it's abusive, or because they've been rejected for one reason or another. And we have very few services that are available for them. Places like Village Family Services are a life raft out there in this choppy sea that these young people have to try to navigate. And so we just have to do a lot more for this population. I'm proud to say that soon we'll be opening a 100-unit permanent supportive housing development, half of which is going to be devoted to transition-age youth. We're going to be opening that soon. It's not far from here, actually, over near Clybourne. It's under construction now, and hopefully we'll be opening that up very soon, and it'll have 50 units specifically targeted for transition-aged youth. So with that, thank you all very much for being here. Jeff, if you don't mind, I do have this certificate, which I'd like to give Gayle, because Gayle represents the artists. And so this is from the City of Los Angeles. It says, on behalf of the City of Los Angeles, I commend you for your contribution to the creation of the mural, Unhoused Youth, Stories of the Tay and Hope of the Valley. We salute your talent, organizational skills, and inclusive attitude, and we wish you continued success in your future endeavors. Thank you.